It is the best day of the week, and that is New Comic Book Day. Before we get going to the LCS, I wanted to talk about some of my favorite books from this last week because last week was stacked. I think that last week was one of the best weeks of single issue comics in a really, really long time, and I wanted to talk about all 4 of my pulls from last week. So, we're going to start off talking about Absolute Superman, issue 12 by Jason Aaron. I thought that this was such a great issue, a really good kind of return to form for Absolute Superman from Jason Aaron. I've really loved this series. I think it started a little slow, but I've really loved it. And I think the middle issues around some of the Brainiac stuff was really, really great. Jason Aaron utilizes the single issue format so well through all of his comics. Absolute Superman is no exception to that. I felt like the past few weeks have been a little less good about that, but this issue, issue 12, was such a great standalone Superman story. I absolutely loved this issue, and I'm so excited for what this sets up for the future. Next, I wanted to talk about Absolute Evil One Shot. This was such a fun read. I'm not a big fan of stuff that is just edgy for the sake of being edgy, or dark, or just kind of disrespectful to source material just for the sake of it, which at a first glance, this kind of seems like it could be something like that. But I didn't see that at all with this. I think that this is trying to tell a really important and impactful story, both for the future of the DC Absolute universe, but also kind of pertaining to some more real topical conversations that are being had in our world, and using this book as a way to do that. I thought that this was really, really interesting. There was a bit of fan service with getting to see a lot of the villains and characters from all the Absolute books come together and talk. The ending of this also just gets you so excited for what the future of this Absolute universe is going to look like. So this was a really, really great read. Some really kind of sad stuff happens in this. I know a lot of fans of a certain DC character are pretty upset with what happens in this book, but I'm really curious to see what this sets up for the future. Up next, I wanted to talk about The Amazing Spider-Man by Joe Kelly, issue 13. So, I know at the beginning of Joe Kelly's run, there was a lot of hype around it. People kind of fell off when John Romita stepped back into the art for a lot of people. I powered through that. I actually have gotten to where I kind of enjoy JRJR's art. But I think that what they've set up here with 2 different Spider-Men, one being this more street level in New York, and then the other one, Peter Parker, being in space with Pepe Larraz on the art, is just a really fascinating concept. I heard a lot of talk whenever this was announced of the 2 Spider-Man splitting, where people were arguing that they're just kind of filling time or wasting time before they get to issue 1000. And I kind of got that at the time. I kind of understood where that was coming from, that sentiment. But I don't see that at all. I think that what Joe Kelly is doing with this is setting up a really interesting dual Spider-Man story and getting the best of both worlds. You have the street level stuff and you have the spacefaring stuff. I am not a big space guy. I kind of struggle to connect to stories that are normally set primarily in space, especially in comics, especially in Marvel. I don't really enjoy Marvel's cosmic side that much. So I was a little hesitant about one half of this whole book being a space adventure. This issue is wonderful. It's one of the first issues from Joe Kelly that I thought had a really good self-contained story. Most of his stories really tie into each other, which is totally fine. But this is the first issue of his that I thought really utilizes the single issue format to its best. I think the supporting cast in this is really fun. Pepe Larraz on the art is just so wonderful to have back as well. I love what Joe Kelly is doing with Amazing Spider-Man. I really hope he keeps up the momentum. So, y'all have heard me talk about utilizing the single issue format. If we wanted to talk about that, Matt Fraction's Batman is a perfect example of this. Like I said last week, Matt Fraction has said his goal is for every single issue of his Batman run to be a standalone single issue story while tying into a larger narrative. And now that we're 2 issues in, you can see that coming to fruition already. This is a great story about father and son, Bruce and Tim, and tying back this flashback into a present day. The art by Jorge Jimenez is beautiful to look at. The story in this could be terrible, which it isn't. I think Matt Fraction is doing great. But even if the story was terrible, this would be a book just to pick up because of Jorge Jimenez on this art. A beautiful book to look at. one of my favorite ongoings right now at DC, and we're only 2 issues in. This is going to be a book to look out for. This is going to be a generational run, I promise you. So, Batman by Matt Fraction, issue 2, another great read. But now that we've gotten through all that, what do you say we head to the LCS and get this week's pulls? All right, so what have I been up to this last week? Not a whole lot. I have had classes. I had a listening quiz in my Japanese class today, which was kind of difficult. Listening is like by far the thing that I think I'm probably worst at for Japanese, but I think it went okay. I think it went fine. I've kind of settled on having a B in that class at this point, so a B should be easy enough to get. I had really high hopes to get all A's this semester, but I don't see that happening. Speaking of Japanese, I'm planning to go back to Japan with one of my friends. His handle is Boomy. You can find him on TikTok. I interact with him, do some collabs with him as well on TikTok. We're planning to go to Japan this winter together. We're going to be up there for 2 weeks. Go to Kyoto for a week, go to Tokyo for a week. Should be really fun. So if you guys have any suggestions on stuff to do, let me know. I've been before, so I'm thinking of just kind of running back the stuff I've already done for the most part. I'm wanting to work on some more longer form content. I'd like to do series reviews, pick a run from a certain author on a comic or an event, something like that, and do a more in-depth dive into it. I've always loved content like that, but just the work that goes into that feels really, really intense in comparison to maybe what you get out of it. So I'm just not sure. I would like to make content like that eventually. For now, vlogs are a little bit more manageable. I do put effort into these, but they're a little easier to just kind of record yourself while you're doing stuff. And I like that. So we are almost at the best comic shop in the entire Kansas area, and that is Chops Comics. I'll catch you inside. My favorite though is Ultimates. Every time Ultimates comes out, I love it. I know it's very hit or miss because some people I see on a All right, so I just got some milk tea, and more importantly, I got my weekly pulls of comics. I'm gonna go to the other comic shop in town, Game Nut Entertainment, check out what they got. Hopefully not spend any more money because I really don't need to. And we're back at the apartment. Let me show you guys what I picked up today. Starting with a couple trades. These didn't even come out this week, but I've been looking for a couple of these. First is Daredevil and Elektra Volume 2 by Chip Zdarsky. This volume, specifically Volume 2, has gotten really hard to find, so I went ahead and got it. I'm not planning to read this just super soon, but I know eventually I'll want to, so I wanted to go ahead and get it. And then the next thing I picked up was Two-Face. This is a more recent series. I think it was just 6 issues, 6 issues collected here, written by Christian Ward. I have heard that this is an amazing series. I know a lot of people were upset that it was so short. I know this is going to be great. I'm really into a lot of the DC All-In initiative. I've been wanting to collect and read a lot of these comics. So Two-Face, I've been hearing really great things about it. It might work as a good little palate cleanser between longer runs that I've been reading. So had to pick this up today. But of course, what you have all been waiting for are the actual single issues that I picked up today. We're going to start talking about Absolute Batman, issue 13, written by Scott Snyder. I believe it's Dragotta that's on this one. Really, really solid stuff. Absolute Batman has been probably the most consistently fun series that I've picked up every single month. I don't think it's my favorite ongoing. I think maybe the Ultimates I like a little bit more, but in terms of just fun and how much I enjoy each issue, it's probably Absolute Batman. Scott Snyder is really, really great at having really interesting stories that sometimes do have some decent complexity, but a lot of it is just really, really fun. I think he knows how to work with artists really well. I think that this has just been such a fun run to read week to week. I'm really excited to see where he takes this story. The Absolute Bane stuff has pumped this up to like a 9 or a 10 out of 10 series. This has been so great, and I know it's just going to keep cooking. The only other issue that I picked up this week, pretty light week in terms of single issues, was my most hyped comic for the past few months. That is DC KO. I am so excited to dive into this. I've heard it's going to be a Superman-centric story written by Scott Snyder. I know that the art is going to pop off. I'm just so excited. This is just so fun. I mean, I'm sure there's a narrative. I'm sure there's a good story here. I know it ties into the overall All-In saga and the Absolute stuff with Darkseid, but this is just going to be fun. And people are just reading this to see our favorite superheroes fight and beat each other up. So this is really exciting. I know there are going to be twists and turns that I don't expect. I'm calling it right now. I have Wonder Woman winning the whole thing. That might age like milk, but maybe she does, and then I just called it. But yeah, this is going to be a super fun read. I'm going to hold off on reading this, though, probably not today or the next couple days, because I'm trying to catch up on Joshua Williamson's Superman first. I'm a few issues behind, and I heard that ties directly into this, especially with it being a Superman-centric event. So I'm going to hold off. I'm not going to read this just yet, even though I really want to. It's definitely what I want to read the most right now. But we're going to hold off on it until I'm up to date with Superman, and then we're going to read this. I know for a fact that this is going to be amazing. So lastly, I'd like to do something a little bit different. I have a series on TikTok that I call Mike's Must Reads, where I give a book recommendation each week. I wanted to start doing something like that, a short little segment at the end of these where I recommend a book. And this week's book is going to be The Hellions by Zeb Wells. So, right off the bat, I know that Zeb Wells is a controversial name. He ended his Spider-Man run this last year. People really did not like it as a whole. But you guys should really give him a chance and give this book a chance. I was always under the impression when it came to his Spider-Man run, I doubt he made many of those choices of his own volition, that a lot of those were made for him by the higher-ups at the Spider office. Like, I don't know. I say cut the guy some slack. I think he's funny, and I think that shines in this book, and I bet it shines in his Spider-Man run as well. I haven't read it. So, but this run, set during the Krakoa era, it is essentially the X-Men's response, Marvel's response to the Suicide Squad. They're the Hellions. They're a team under the leadership of Mr. Sinister, who is redefined in this with very snarky attitude, super funny. But it's this group of former villains, outcasts, and the problem children of Krakoa. They form a team under the leadership of Mr. Sinister. They're sent on these crazy missions. A lot of them die. People are betrayed. And it is really fun. The core concept that's really important to this book is during the Krakoa era, mutants are able to die and just be resurrected and come back to life through some of the protocols there on Krakoa. Super important to this book because a lot of people die over and over. So there's some really fun stuff in this. It's primarily a comedy, I would say. There is a really a really solid through line that has some heart in this that pays off, especially at the end. There are some weird characters in this. Orphan, Maker, Nanny, Wild Child, and then you have some of the heavy hitters like Havoc and Psylocke. But as a whole, this is a really fun standalone book. It's about 18 issues. You don't really need to know what else is going on in the Krakoa era to read this and really enjoy it. So my recommendation, my Mike's Must Read this week, is Hellions by Zeb Wells. You should all check it out. And guys, that is going to do it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I love making these. I love comic books. And I love making content. So if you guys enjoy this, just let me know. Check out my TikTok. I really appreciate it. You guys stay safe and stay reading comics.